Easy E, how are we?
Shawnee, I did something.
Uh-oh. When you say that, my mind goes in so many different directions, and I can't even say half of them in the podcast. So I'd be very nervous, like, of where you're
I don't
going with
know.
this.
I don't know if that's a good reflection of me or a bad reflection of
Because
me.
so many times we'll have a certain conversation before it starts. Yeah, we'll go into this, and then it starts. You go, "Oh, I did something." And like, I don't know if you do this on purpose, but you just change the conversation to something else completely different. And I'm like, "Oh, we're going in this way, Harry. Thanks for the heads up on that. How we're starting the podcast. Like, it's
It's
what did you
just
do?
it keeps the content original. Well, I bought an air fryer. That's a start. So
Oh well, that's great news. This week on the Any Given Runday, we have an air fryer. No recipes or nothing. But
yeah,
sure, look,
but I have an oven here, Sean. I'd say if I was to cook a chicken in it, I'd be better off breeding on the chicken to try and cook it than this oven. So, but we can't get rid of it. So I bought an air fryer. So my nutrition is improving. But I also did something else other than the air fryer. Um, this week
right.
I did something I thought I wouldn't try and do again because I hate doing it. A 5K, not PB effort, but a 5K best effort, we will call it.
So we're away from the NCT. We're feeling back on track. Because if you're going for a 5K best effort, you're good. The NCT stuff, that's all done. We're getting back into race mode, getting that buzz again.
Yeah.
Okay,
And this
brilliant.
is the reason I was happy to show up and say, okay, I'm gonna do my best effort is because it's ground zero. So
Right.
I am hoping it's the benchmark. It was my benchmark for the year, and I'm hoping by the end of the year there's a couple of minutes, not seconds, minutes
Oh
taken
wow.
off this time. Yeah. So I run with the Adidas Run Club out here, and they're a great club. They like the structure of it. We're going to get one of the coaches on in a couple of weeks to talk about this. But this was called the Road to Records. I don't know if anyone's seen this. I didn't know it existed until I was part of this club. And obviously on Saturday, Adidas run an event called Road to Records.
Mhm.
Basically, they bring all the athletes they're sponsoring, they bring them to one event, kit them out in all the new Adidas gear, fast shoes, all the best, and they try and break records. So who can run a sub 4 minute mile, who can run fast 5K, all of that kind of stuff tries to get broken on the track in Adidas gear. And it's called Road to Records. But every Adidas club around the world, one here in Dubai, on the same morning, did our 5K best effort group, which is great because it gave people something to aim for. We've known for a couple of weeks when we're doing our track sessions, it's all been tailored towards go out quick, steady in the middle, finish strong, and all of this has been building towards it. I showed up and said, right, we're going full Eric Mungo. That's the only
Oh
gear I
God.
that's all we have to do. But I knew we did a session on the Thursday, and I stuck with the I stick like again from people train with people who are better than you. So you have options when you sign like okay, so we're in six groups on a lane of six or on a track of six lanes. So group one, you're running at a 6:30 group, and then obviously it goes down to the guys who are trying to run at 3:30. Now they say, oh, we're running at a 4 minute pace. They're running at a 2:55 for the first 800. But I stick with them and say, stay as close as possible. Just while I'm trying to get my fitness back because I'm getting dropped by them. Like it's not even close. I end up running on my own, and just trying to then stick with the pace that is more than I would do if I was with the other group. Mentally, I'm pushing it a little bit more. So I knew 25 minutes was tough. And it's been a long time since 25 minutes was tough, but it was tough.
Yeah.
Also 26, 27. It was the temperature crying. So it was just after sunrise, 6:30 in the morning because it was the coolest temperatures. But the temperatures by the time we got to 8 o'clock were up around the mid 20s, pushing 30. I think it was 35 that day. So it was warm.
It was
Um,
35 when you started this race at
no,
eight
it was
o'clock on
it
track.
was it was in the mid 20s, but climbing as you were starting. So I don't know what the temperature was at the start, but it doesn't start low,
Yeah.
but it rises as you go. But it's only 25 minutes. But it was hot. So went maximum effort. Someone's like, "How quick are you gonna go?" I was like, "That is the magic question." But if you want to stick with me, we're going sub 25. I just don't know how far beyond it. So all in all, we stuck it out. There was a guy came past and ran a 16:30 5K, lapped me twice, and I was like, I haven't even got the energy to trip him up. I'm absolutely wrecked. But yeah, so it was a great day to be in the one place where everyone had their own goal. And I have to say, it was amazing. Like, I felt bad about myself because it was like, what's your PB? I was like, 1940. What are you going to run today? Sub 25-ish. Like it's difficult to admit to that fact of being slower than you were 4 years ago. But I suppose you be mature about it and you say, well, today is day one. It's one day or day one again. And this is what it was. So 24 minutes, Sean, and it was a very, very, very long 24 minutes. And you're counting down the laps because it's on a 400-meter track and you're like, 10 to go. I'm already hurting. I hate 5Ks.
How did you start? Because I did the Manu 5K recently, and I was with a friend doing it, and I was like, right, because she wanted to do 20 sub 22. I'm like, you're sub 20. You shouldn't be doing this. No, I think I'm around that. I'm like, I know you're training. You're much faster, and you should be near that. I'm gonna try and get sub 22. I'm gonna go to 4:30, and if I feel good, I'm gonna go 4:20. If I'm not, I'm gonna go back to 4:40. There's a lot of kids stuff at the start, so as I took off, I bypassed them. It was like a small little downhill for a minute. Minute's completely different where I was, like all done up now. But anyway, I looked at the watch and then she came up behind me. It's like 4:30 my ass, and looked at the watch. It's like 3:55. But like my watch buzzed again for the 1 kilometer gone. It was 4:07, and she was a good bit in front at this stage. I was like, oh, just let her go. And like I tried to hang up with their life. I was just bare. The watch said sub 22, just about like those 22:01 maybe. Not that I was counting because it's still a good 2 minutes off my PB. And I was like, right, I got stuck with that. Try to hang on for dear life and just see where this track takes me. I knew it was an up and back course. But I hadn't been that part of New because it's all done up in the last couple of years. I had no idea how far down, uphill, whatever like that. But when you're on a track and you're going, like, sometimes I want to fall into a ditch. Like, I remember doing the cock one 2 years ago, and like I knew 3K, I'm not holding the sub 4 minute anymore. And I want to jump in a ditch where a track you can easily just, it's not my day. And I'm back to the start line. Did that cross the mind? Did you take off too fast to start? Or what happened?
No, I took off too fast on purpose. I didn't have a plan, but I had a plan. So it's 12 and a half laps, or essentially is what you're doing. So
are you counting that?
Yeah. So well, it did 5K is 12 and a half laps.
No, but how are you not losing count there?
Because you start 200 meters away from the start line.
But is the Garmin? I suppose the Garmin stuff's accurate then.
The Garmin is, once you run on the inside lane, if you run on any of the other lanes, you're increasing the distance. But if you're in lane one and you hug the inside lane, it's 400 meters. If the track is built right, it should be 5K pretty much on the money.
But the guy going to 16 something then, he's passing you out, is he?
He's still running in lane one, and as he comes to someone, he passes them out. And then, same as you'd see in the Olympics, you pass someone out, you slot back into the lane. You know, the lanes are... You can fit two in a lane, but you pass, you move, don't overtake on the bends type thing, pass on the straight because it's even money, and that's what you try and do. But it was mad. Like the first 200 meters, I said, okay, 10, and then settle at the 4:45. So once you get through, I said, just ride the excitement of the start. It was a race feeling. It was a gang of people there. It was 3, 2, 1, go. So I said, right, 200 meters and then break away, let people pass me out then, but we'll try and pull it back to the 4:45 because I said, regardless if it blows up at the end, I know the stubbornness will kick in to go sub 25 and I'll have it in the bank from the first 200 meters, 300 meters of those couple of seconds. So when the first beep, as you said, goes on the kilometer and you see a 4:30, you're like, grand. We've 30 seconds in the bag. Let's just hold on.
Is that how you felt?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, you felt good 4:30 out the first K. Okay.
So mentally, once the first thing came in, it was 4:30. I gave myself permission then to say 4:45. That's all we have to do. Come 3K, 4K, 4:50, 4:52. Then the last K, you always know, and the last lap, you will find something to go a little bit faster. So I relaxed a little bit. But regardless. And what went through my mind was the previous episodes we'd had about lactate threshold, about it never gets easier, you just get faster. So it was nice to be in that position of going, I am redline. This is me, Max. I wanted to stop 4 laps ago. We're staying in. I'm lengthening my stride. I'm doing everything just to keep the legs turning over. And I was like, this is a good benchmark. And although I crossed the line 4 minutes and 20 seconds slower than my PB 5K time, for me, it was good to be like, I am working very hard in a new environment, coming through all the injuries, the knocks, the little lull that we had in the last 8 weeks. And I can't describe it, but the feeling afterwards, I felt as proud as I did on the previous 5K PB because of the effort I had put in this 5K. It was bizarre.
Yeah,
it was bizarre. It was a strange. I didn't deserve to feel happy. I should have ran another 5, but it was
not really. If you're going max effort, regardless of where you're at in training, I mean, sometimes the fittest person can run in at like a 19, but they could have done 17 had they put in more effort. It sounds like on that day you went 24, and to steal your line from last week on the podcast, that every pace has a place. I almost messed that up.
Yeah.
I think that was true.
I stole it from the Adidas runners as well.
Don't say that. The t-shirt. Speaking of t-shirt, switching gears.
They didn't pay me the million, Sean. So
they didn't pay the million. Fair enough. It's been used. Speaking of a t-shirt, you talk about you have an Eric approved t-shirt. It's a text I've seen recently that's popped up on an email. What's that all about?
So this is a sign that people are genuinely listening to what we're saying, which is terrifying. We have put out that we are going to do the Rome Marathon. We put out a Google form and a post, and we talked about it on the podcast. We said we'd bring 50 people. Within a week, I think we have 57 people signed up to travel away with us to a marathon. The reason I say to a marathon is because Rome is proving to be very expensive. So we are looking at a destination. We're waiting on final figures. So all those who have signed up, and you're listening again, wondering what it is we're doing, you should expect probably an email in the next week, kind of outlining that you're in. As of this date, if you haven't signed up yet and you decide to sign up tomorrow or the next day, you're going to be added into a waiting list, because we're already up to 57 people who are going to travel with us to do a marathon. It will be in March, April. Again, we are looking at Rome. It's proven to be quite expensive for flights. So if Rome was your thing and you're hearing this for the first time, I'm sorry. I don't run airlines, but they have a way of ruining a weekend away. But we will have an event within a week of that scheduled date that we were hoping for, because that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to do a marathon early. So yeah, Eric approved t-shirts comes as part as standard. It's like we're selling a Skoda here now. Instead of air conditioning, you get a t-shirt that I designed. So it's Eric approved. Yeah, so there's all sorts of goodies that are coming with it. And it'll be part of the new Any Given Runday kit that me and Sean will be sporting. So not only do you have to recognize our ugly faces now, it's funny though, because of podcast, people still recognize their faces. And you'll have our lovely new jerseys to spot us in as we're running around, and there will be one for everyone in the audience on the trip.
So you have 11 months to train. I don't think your next event is going to be this marathon next year. No, you have 11 months. So I want to hear about something else in the next couple of weeks and months ahead.
Although with the locations we are looking at, they are PB territory marathons. So for anyone who is looking to set their PB in a marathon, they are flat marathons. So they're the places you go if you want to break that 4 hour, break that 4:30, break that 3 hour, it's going to be the marathon for you. And it's, I'm excited. I'm actually baffled. I'm a little bit afraid. Like, I expected us to be dragging our mothers, dogs, friends on this little trip with us. But the fact that 57 people signed up in a week is pretty cool. So thank you to all who are willing to put your names forward. If people don't pay their deposits when we eventually do go live and book the trip, we will re-advertise again to our waiting list and anyone else who wants to get involved in us on the trip and future trips. But it's exciting. It is exciting. That will hopefully be my third marathon in 4 months. If things go to plan this year, I will be running 21-minute 5Ks again, and we will hopefully have a PB. I'm not going to put a number on it just yet. We're going to see how the summer goes. But on that trip, for myself and Sean, there's a PB in there somewhere for me, and that'll be my destination. So it's a 12-month goal.
Well, I just thinking I'll be pulling back my race, so I won't. But I'll have done a month or two before for 50K and be off a couple months from doing the Dublin Marathon. So now the fact you're saying, this could be a flat course, a PB course, I'm feeling the pressure, but
well, look, it is really good, and I suppose it was a humbling feeling for us as a couple of fools who have a podcast and a couple of thousand people that listen each week. I suppose when you only see numbers and that Spotify and Buzzsprout say and Apple Podcasts say, but when you say, does anyone want to actually go on a run with us, and you get sign-ups like that, it's humbling, it's terrifying, but it is cool, and it's great that we know there's a community of people out there who like what we do and are willing to come travel with us for a bit of fun. And it will be fun. There'll be a marathon in the way of the fun, but it will be fun.
So those that sign up should get an email in the next week or so from yourself from us on what's going on next then.
Yeah, and that's what we can expect. And for those who are listening and have signed a name down, it's time to start saving the pennies, because I will be asking for a deposit soon in order to secure your place. So do start saving up the old pennies there.
And if this seems a marathon like a long distance, then that's going to segue nicely into this week's episode of the podcast, because our next guest of the podcast has done what is billed as Britain's most brutal endurance race. And not only did he do that, he smashed a record in one of these races. So without further ado, it's this week's episode of the Any Given Runday Podcast. Let's go. Usually on the Any Given Runday Podcast, when we have a guest on, we kind of go through their fitness journey and get towards their more recent events later on the podcast. But this one, we have to start at most recent, because our next guest on the Any Given Runday Podcast has 3 podium finishes in some of the world's toughest endurance races, including not only winning the Spine Winter Challenge North this year, a 258-kilometer event in minus conditions, snow, etc. in January just gone, but also doing it in 44 hours, 37 minutes, knocking 16 hours off the previous fastest time. Joe O'Leary, welcome to this week's episode of the Any Given Runday Podcast. How are you getting on?
Good. Yeah, great to be here.
Joe,
it's a hell of a lot better than being in the freezing cold. Anyway, Joe, I can see the stove behind you.
Yeah, well, that's it's actually quite warm for a change. Wet and warm, typical Kerry weather.
Joe, something like an ultra run where you're literally running for days. I always wonder what kind of pushes people, motivates people. And on your Instagram, you've got a blog post talking about your last 2 spine races. And one of the quotes is like, these ultras are not about any amount of adrenaline or cheering or such like a football game might be. They're more drawn out and possibly too arduous to actually enjoy fully at the time. What the hell motivates you to run for days?
The pub after, obviously.
Yeah. But it's days that, like, when you getting there like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, the pub's not open.
No, but it's still open soon. I can have a break and fall asleep for a bit, and then go into the pub. But I try to time it that it's just around either pub closing or just around pub opening.
I'm delighted you have the same ethos for this kind of long distance running that me and Sean do. Is all based around food and a good time afterwards. I suppose, how do you prepare for a good time? So you have a long preparation in the journey to the pub. How do you prepare for something like that?
Jesus, that's a huge question. I suppose in a way you don't. It continues for years beforehand. I mean, you can't really. Yeah, it builds up over years. At the moment, I'm trying to prepare for Kerry Way Ultra, which is on in 4 or 5 weeks or something. And like I did nearly 4 hours running today, and I was wrecked. I had to come home and just fell asleep for about an hour and a half or something. And I was trying to figure out how I ever did anything over 60K. Not to mind run for days on end. So I suppose it builds up over years, really. And I don't do a whole pile of mileage. Like I'm not doing 100 miles a week or anything. It's probably a big week might be 110K, 120. But generally there's like 85, 90K. And so, yeah, it just builds up over years. And I did a few adventure races. And I found they actually gave me a huge amount of confidence on sleep and just managing mentally. You know, you might be kind of half fecked after 5 or 6 hours in. That's fine, but it's like, oh, what am I going to be like in 5 days' time? And that can really mess with your head. So adventure racing really helped with that. To just kind of, maybe not project too far in the future and just try and think about the here and now. But sometimes the here and now is absolutely atrocious. So it might be. So no, I mean, preparing, Jesus, like I don't really. It just continues on over the years. Like my first 100-mile to Kerry Way, was a bit of a shit show. I was hobbling for the last, I don't know, 10 hours or something. There was atrocious weather conditions as well, but not too cold. And I couldn't move for ages after that. It's a good week, and probably didn't run for 2 weeks. And so all these things can make you a stronger runner. So like I don't do anything special to prepare for these things. Just try and get in a good few miles and hours, but nothing too nuts. And recovery, a few pints is good for recovery.
So a lot of this is for you consistency, and obviously you've learned a hell of a lot of lessons. Like you don't have to travel to the Antarctic to learn a lot about ultra racing. Obviously you have the Kerry Way, you have a great training facility in your back garden. Has that consistency through each week been a good foundation for you? And over how many years have you been doing these 90K, 110K weeks?
How many years have been? Probably like for the first Kerry Way, which would be I think it was 2018. That could be wrong. Something around there. Maybe 2017.
But a few years.
Yeah. Like I wasn't really. I probably ran 4 days a week, and that would have been 30. I'd say that was even less mileage, probably 65, 70K a week. But mixed in with that was a lot of cycling as well. Because I used to be more into mountain biking and road racing, so that helped a lot. I kind of lost where my train of thought there.
For your last spine race, the bigger one, the longer distance one last year in 2023, you on your blog, one of the training things you had was, you say you strength train Monday, 16 or 20K on Tuesday, Wednesday, 90-minute walk with a weighted vest on a Thursday. When did you start introducing weighted vests into your training?
Yes, about 2 years ago, because the dog has to be walked. So I felt like I should be doing something more than walking the dog, so I put on the weighted vest and I tried to put in a few hills. But the dog's leg, he had needed surgery, so I couldn't do too many hills either. So we are using the weight vest, and it was just a way of adding on a bit of training while not calling it training. Because I don't like calling it training, I just like going out walking with the dog. So I was mindful that I should be doing something else in view of preparing for a race. So that's why I had the weighted vest. And I didn't run with it or anything. So no, I wasn't running with it. But yeah,
I'd say
that for
I'd
me
say
is a typical week.
the
That's
dog was
pure.
probably delighted to see the weighted vest on you to slow you down a little bit anyway.
Yeah, he is, yeah. He's always all that. But yeah, so over like that sounds like a typical week for me. Yeah, definitely. So there's not huge magic thing in what I do. It's just, I'm kind of always doing something. Kind of find it hard to stay still.
And you just gravitated towards the running the last couple of years. Were you do anything before long distance running? Would you have been a road runner when you were younger, or?
No, never. No, I wasn't even in sport. No. How it happened was, well, I was always cycling. I was always cycled to school, which is a thing that's not really done now. And like no one walks or cycles or anything to school. And then when I was, I didn't have a car until I was 21. So I was cycling until I was 21. And then got into rallying, as in navigating and stuff, because I'm a mechanic by trade. And so I did a rally in, God, when was it? I was 25, so 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a 2-day rally. It was in Sierra Cosworth, and there's Cork 20. And I did the first. It was a 2-day rally. I did the first day of it. I had to go lie down in bed for like half an hour. I was wrecked from I wasn't used to the speed. I was pressing my feet into the footrest. So I had to lie down after. I said, you know what, I better get fit, because I hadn't been doing much for about 4 years. So as soon as that rally was over, I bought a second-hand hire bike, and I was too embarrassed to be seen on the road. So I just go and I dress up nicely and go cycling in the dark. And the first night I have a little loop around here. It's a 5K loop. And I made it about 2.5, 3K. I had to stop at a friend's house and turned around and came back. And the next night I did it, I called into the friend's house, had a cup of tea, and came back. And the next night then I went further, probably did about 15K. And then I tried, went further every night I went out. And that's where it started. So I was cycling for years, 3 times a week. Nothing big. Still go out for a few pints Saturday night and that, a lot of rallies and all the rest of it. And so one of my friends then got me into mountain biking. And it went from there into joining the club and going racing throughout most of Ireland, up and down the country, and a few little jaunts to England to do a couple of races there. I was pretty good at the base level, which mean S4. I won the Irish, whatever you call it, the MPS, the champs up the north somewhere. But then when I progressed up further into the other classes, I wasn't as good. But still, I discovered that the further I went, the more I enjoyed it. And I didn't tire as much as others. Like, I wasn't winning, but it's fine. And I went from there into road racing. So
how do you compare the adrenaline between rally and mountain biking?
Well, it's the same thing, really, because anytime you look up and blink, you could be over the ditch. I quite often was upside down in a dike, both on the bike and in a rally car. But I wasn't driving a rally car, so I was a navigator. So I had no control over that, really. So I'd rather be in control. So mountain biking is great crack, in fairness. And then I found road racing a bit easier, actually, because you could hide behind people. It's a bit like cheating. You can do a lot of cheating in road racing. So you can hide behind someone and then, fucking do a big effort to go sprint for the finish. But I discovered I wasn't much of a sprinter. I actually won one race, and I asked after, so what was everyone at? Like, it was up in Cork. What were they at? Oh, you took off there on the hill. It was a steep hill, yeah. Like I told them I was going to do. Let's go away at the hill there, and we'll drop all these other Egypts. And so I'm used to that kind of steep hill. It was like 14% or something. And I took off, and I went, it's just like mountain biking, and then I don't know. They never saw me going, and then at the end, they didn't see me until it was too late, and I was up the road. I don't know what's happened, but so yeah. So went from there then to, like, I wasn't actually a great road racer. I didn't have a lot of power because I'm only a small lad, and even though I'm light, I wasn't light enough to be a great hill man. But I wanted to do a multi-day race, so I entered Ross Moon, which would have been 9 years ago now. So there was a Easter race around here it was basically Kerry, and so that was a 4-day race. And for the first day, second day, and third day, I was fighting for last. So I was either last or second last, but I was still in it, like, you know. And there was a lot of people that were timed out. That, you know, there's a time limit, and that was the first year of that as well. But luckily enough, they didn't tell me the first day because I would have just panicked. So I found that out after the end. So yeah, did what I could to get into the last day, which was more of just doing laps of circuit in Clargon. And basically, I found the biggest, baddest Dutch guy, and try and hide behind him for as long as I could, and then they'd disappear into a 3-inch gap, and I'd just find the next biggest lad and just hide behind him. And so finished and made up a few places, and so that was that. Then I hung up the wheels, and I said I'll do a bit more mountain biking. And the beauty about mountain biking is you're on trails all the time anyway, and mountains, but it's not really open mountain stuff. You kind of have to stay on the trail. So I was running twice a week at that stage, and so I gradually went to 3 times a week, and I liked doing the trail stuff running because, you know, the bits I couldn't do on a bike, they're a bit too hard. You know, I could just run them. And so I gradually went a bit more into that. I had joined Iveragh probably a couple of years before that, did a few races, and like the first ones would have been in Ballyhora, which I was used to racing on mountain bike. I said, oh, it'd be cool to, you know, run these trails that I mountain bike on, and kept telling everyone that, I actually mountain bike these. Yeah, how would you do that? Just like fucking great. But
is it kind of like running and mountain biking? Once you find the trails, is there nothing better? You know, as in 42K marathon in a city street, it just doesn't compare to.
No. It's battling against nature sort of thing. Yeah, and it's like every step is different as well. And the same with mountain biking. There's always something to look at. It's very dynamic. It's constantly changing. Whereas the road is a bit boring, and you're playing with traffic basically most of the time, so it's quite annoying. Probably running on the road will be the same. You're playing with traffic and that, so I don't really enjoy it. So that's basically, in a big long-winded way, my story. And I just went a bit more into the running. I found it a bit easier at times, easier to train. You just hop off and just go running. No need to, wash the shoes in a puddle outside the door, and that's fine. You have to wash the bike and look after it and stuff. And so that was the crack, really. Iveragh, once I got to know the guys in Iveragh, down here in Munster, Robbie and the lads, it just took off from there, really. They're a super bunch of people, and just got more and more into that.
When was that turning point where you were battling for not being last and second last to like, oh, I'm actually good at this? Because like a couple of years later, you're running the French Alps and stuff and doing 160 Ks down there, and you've done the Kerry Way a number of times as well. When was that first race you're like, I'm starting to really get good at this?
So probably a year after Ross Moon. We went to myself and a few 4 or 5 lads from Iveragh. We decided we'd do the Tour de Mont Blanc route, and I think it kind of half frightened all of us, really, because it'd be basically a marathon a day for 4 days. None of us had done that. And I had it in the back of my head, because I'm from Killarney, and I see the Kerry Way happening. That'd be interesting. That's like four of these, that'd be cool. We'll see, can we do it? So, we did it. It was fantastic. The third evening is when we really realized that it's going to be a hard job. We were, I was myself and another guy were first to the pub. And then it was just the poor woman. She didn't know what was happening. But I kissed the ground outside the door anyway. And this is hard work, but there was no doubt in my mind. But I was going to finish it off the next day. And we had like 40k to do the next day, and persuaded a few more of the guys to join me. So outside the pub at the end, and that's the famous end of the UTMB race. We're in the pub there, and I said, right, I'm doing Kerry Way. Who's joining me? And Brian Buckley was there. Oh, right, so I will.
You definitely only asked that after 4 or 5 pints as well.
Yeah, Kaz and Dave Carr as well. They decided to do it as well. So it was over a few pints. Basically, we decided to do it. So and it's from there. Then from doing the Kerry Way, it was arduous to use that word I used before. But it was I knew on some level that I could do it. I was doubting myself for a long time, but finishing it, it was awesome. And it was stunning. I mean, it was really bring you down to earth. It's like something like that. It just breaks you on physically and mentally, and then you build yourself back up. And to know that you can do something like that and do half well. I mean, obviously, there's people have done away quicker since. But actually managed to bag third in it because it was a pretty wet night. So then I said, this mightn't be too bad. It might might actually keep going with this. And then after a couple of weeks, it's a case of, what's the next one? And the ultimate one would be UTMB. So went back there a few years later and did that. So that was cool. Brian beat me, of course. Yeah,
is that the one? The I read a quote in that one. There's a 160k option, a 170k option, and you picked the 160k option because it's steeper and harder. Is that the same one?
That's the TDS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's a bit of small story behind that because it's pretty hard to get into UTMB, but we were kind of basically it's just enter TDS and you get in straight away. So we decided to do that, and it's the hardest option as well, apart from PTO. So it's a bit of a TDS is a right little rascal of a race. It's definitely tough, but it made UTMB. UTMB was a bit easier, but harder in a way because I was going a bit faster, probably too fast for the first 3-4 hours, and then I had to rethink the strategy and do the head in the hands in the first proper aid station and saying, "Oh, I don't know what's wrong. What did I do?" And Dave said, "Just keep doing your own thing. You like climbing, and you just go out and keep going."
And just on that, what kind of way do you plan these races? Obviously, we'll get back to the spine now and we'll go through that in detail, but how do you strategize that? Obviously, we've done marathons or Ironman, we have a plan and we stick to it, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but we know the day is going to end a hell of a lot quicker than your day is going to end. How do you strategize stuff over a couple of days? How do you prepare? And that's what I'm kind of getting at, the preparation stage. How do you know, I reckon I can do this? And how do you adjust that? Because a lot of times in races, you might feel good on day one. Are you always thinking day 5, day 4, or how do you prepare for that?
Stubbornness. Adventure racing prepared me for that, really.
And the strategy, do you change strategy depending on things? Will you change?
Oh, definitely. You're changing all the time. Yeah. it's a constant thing, ever developing, especially in the spine and UTMB as well. That was constant, constantly changing. Sometimes I didn't feel like eating. You'd say, look, okay, I'll just take 5 minutes longer here and have a bit of bouillon, that kind of watery soup shit they'd be giving out, which is fantastic. And then you say, oh, I might have a bit of a cracker, and then you have another sip of it. Oh, I might have a bit of bread here and a bit of cheese, and and you just kind of tear yourself down and say, right, don't get cocky, just fuel yourself and head out. So strategies is just more of like you're trying to deal with all the things that come into your constantly strategizing every time. And I do a lot of battering internally in my head, really, because I'm constantly thinking I'm not good enough for this, and I can't finish, and everyone else is better, and all the French guys, they're fucking stunning with their shiny little fucking socks and all their lovely clean kit, and Jesus, all the tans and sunglasses and all the kit, and there I am, and literally 5-year-old t-shirts and be hole in the shorts and dirty socks, and but you never start the race in new gear. I don't think the French understand that. It's more of a fashion show. So I mean, it's just it's a constant strategic thing, and like I said, adventure racing definitely schools man pretty quickly in that. Yeah, definitely, and the rest, it's just, I mean, I don't know what to say to you. You have to do it. The alternative is pulling out. So you have to, like, when you're faced with the choices, you have to just constantly change your race plan. And in the spine, the same thing. Oh, I'll be in such a place for 9 o'clock, and I can have a bite to eat there, and I might have a bite. I might try and sleep. And next thing, the stage is a bit too long. You might be an hour and a half longer getting in. You might want to eat. You might be cold, and you go in, then you can't sleep. So you have to try and decide into, just change the whole race plan.
I suppose the weather and conditions and stuff, it's hard to strategize what the weather might be like over days and stuff. And there's a certain irony in that, like, you've done all this traveling, you've gone like towards the UTMBs abroad and stuff like that. You've done spine races multiple times, and yet one of your hardest races was right at home for the Kerry Ultra way back in 2023. You said it was one of the hardest ones you've ever done. I think, like, you still had an unbelievable time doing it, like, but there were so many people that year that didn't finish that race. What made that race so hard last year?
In the Kerry Way, the heat. Yeah. Well, basically, what happened was if you remember the weather last year, June was nice, and then it turned to July and it pissed rain for 2 months. So it was warm, wet rain, and that's what I was training in. And then the one fucking good day we had the whole year was on the Kerry Way, the day of the Kerry Way. And the sun came out, and Foxy boys don't do sun. And like every time I stopped with the gang, and Kevin Leahy was crewing me, actually, and I was kind of said, "Oh yeah, I'm not drinking enough. Here to drink more." Yeah, obviously, and but I still couldn't. I still didn't feel I was getting in enough fluid, but I didn't want to drink anymore, and I was trying to force myself and everything, and it just all came to a head coming into nighttime over 5 more, which is usually my favorite bit, and like the whole body started cramping every time. It wasn't too bad if I could just do the same footsteps over and over, but because it was rough ground and up and down over stiles, that just killed me. Trying to get over stile, the whole body would cramp up, and like I was feeling very down. And I passed, I can't think of his name now, I passed another guy who had started earlier, and he said, "What's wrong?" "Oh, this and that, and I'm dizzy, I can't see," and I say, look up, and the whole horizon starts wobbling, and I'm cramping all over. Yeah, I'm the same as well. I'm sure what we do, want to keep going. It's fuck yeah, okay. So I took off again. And then, and that is changing strategy. I said, look, okay, I'm going pulling out. It's going to be embarrassing, but I can't go on like this. And I changed again. No, I can't pull out. So I went to the next. It was kind of an unofficial checkpoint. It was a little farmyard, and they had a cup of tea. Oh, do we have a cup of tea? She said, I will, yeah. Sugar? Yeah, okay. And they gave me a scone with some butter. And I said, oh, Jesus, you wouldn't find it in the best palace in the world. It was stunning. Oh, it was pure orgasmic. I tell you, like when I came into Waterville, I was utterly broken. I was trying to take off my shoes, but I was cramping. So I looked to Kevin. I said, Jesus, I can't take off my shoes. What do you expect me to do? Take them off for you? Okay, grand. Okay, so I take them off. So no pity whatsoever. But that was good anyway. And the dog was there, and we were all happy out. And was probably stayed 10 or 15 minutes and took off again. And then gradually over as the night went on, the dehydration got better, and I started enjoying it. And so I actually enjoyed it, and it was finished quick enough. I finished strong once the morning came, and so it wasn't, considering what happened, it wasn't a bad time. But I was hoping to be an hour faster. But
you still finished 8th that year when you're going to think about pulling out for a long time. So it was still unbelievable. Fair play.
Yeah, it's more like I feel I want to pull out, but I know I won't, and that's actually more annoying, if that makes any sense. I think ultra runners probably agree with me there, that you want to pull out, but I just can't.
The stubbornness kicks in.
and that annoys me more than anything else. It's just, it gets to me.
And that element of stubbornness and that event, do you think that had a big bearing on the last one that you completed in January? Did you think back to any of those days and go, I've wanted to be reefed off a mountain and I stuck at it? Did you carry that into that big spine race?
Oh yeah, definitely. But that wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad. That race went well. I know I was in the lead for a good bit, but still, there was nothing really big that went wrong. Lots of small things. And back to your previous question, just lots of small things that I managed. My first time getting sick, but I knew that there was no major thing. I was like 6 hours away from the end, so I could actually crawl it. It'll be fine, and I knew I had a big gap, so that was grand. So I definitely carried it in, but I didn't have huge issues in that race, and I didn't have any negative mental emotions or any of that crack.
It was definitely a lot colder.
Yeah, but I like that. That's good. Like it's easy. Like it's easy. What do they call it? It's easy warm up, and cool down. Scrap that, lads. I know what I fucking saying there. I'm looking out the window at the fucking rabbit.
So to
I had a flashback. Sorry. All right, take two.
Right, we'll cut that for you.
So to sum it up for those who don't listen, what is the spine race? What was the challenge you were taking on?
So this year I did the Challenger North race, which is 160 miles. The last 160 miles of the Pennine Way of the full spine race. It's gone up through the mountains in that form the backbone of England up to Scotland, a place called Kirkietum in Scotland. It's a little pub, funnily enough. It's a little pub just inside the border. And so 3 years ago, I did the Challenger South, which is 108 miles. It's the first 108 miles of the full spine race. So I did that. That was an absolute shit show. And I thought I'd never again race. But weirdly enough, I managed to come third. And I said never again. And then after that, I was so annoyed with nearly pulling out and everything. I was very close to it. Only the medic couldn't find any bruises on my leg, and well, that's a different story. And I had a cup of tea and I went out again for more. But yeah, so it was a surprise that I came third. And then, they were right little rascals there, the organisers. They opened the entry for next year's race within a week or two, probably 10 days. And I was so annoyed of it nearly getting me, like it nearly brought me down. I said, I'll show them. And I'll enter the 268 mile version. So, that won't break me. And weirdly enough, I came third in that as well. So that was how I decided to do the Challenger North. Because because that's what I did in the Kerry Way. I did something similar, didn't I? I did the 3 races and podiumed in the 3 races. So I said I'll do the same thing in England. So that's why I did Challenger North, which is, it's in some ways a bit more picturesque than the Challenger South, but it's shitload of mountains at the end. The last 40k is all mountains, and it's a bit hard. But apart from that, like, it isn't too bad. So that's the story there. It's pretty hard to get into. I think it sold out in 3 minutes or something there last year. Same this year. And there's a good quality field of elite runners in it, which makes it interesting. And this year there was couple of former winners. There was a former winner last year of the sprint, and Tom Hollins was former winner of the full spine. And then you had a few of the Irish guys and girls, and I was more worried about them really, because they're pretty good athletes. So that is my spine story. I mean, I could go on for about 10 hours about it. I'm trying to edit myself in my head.
Well, you say it's not too bad. You start, like you said, you started off like from like -6 degrees. I know you said it's easier to warm up,
too bad,
but when you get to that,
yeah,
-6.
Well, I don't mind being cold. Yeah, I think it will warm up. But it's worse if it was too hot. Like, it's very hard to cool down. So yeah, like, you feel like a bit of an idiot at the start line with your full kit on and waterproof leggings and tights and the whole lot and gloves and feck it. But
are you just more used to this though? Because like I mean, I read your blog on it, and like you were at the starting line 10 minutes beforehand. You're like, where's everyone else? And they're all in their cars trying to stay warm before the thing started.
I was there like in an hour beforehand. I was like, where's everyone else? And I was looking for the Irish gang, and it's only 10 minutes before the start they came out. Oh, we're in the car. The heat on. Just with no number of you. Oh yeah, grand. So I was probably a bit colder starting, but that turned out to be a bad thing for them, because I had to run a bit faster to warm up. I enjoyed it though. It was great to run with the gang for 3-4 hours there. Yeah, and pretty good conditions, but it did heat up actually quite a lot. Like, it never came up over freezing, but the sun was beating down when you're trying to run pretty hard. I think everyone overheated.
Because they thought it was going to be so cold, they had so many layers in them.
Yeah. I mean, most people overheat. Like, I definitely did. There was sweat pumping off me. But so I was probably I had no jacket on then until probably the first checkpoint of 70k in. But from then on, it was you're definitely up higher in the mountains, and you're going further up north, and that got cold, and jacket was on permanently, and I'm just thinking about it. It's pretty wild, all right. Yeah, there was times it was frigid. Like, my jacket froze at one point. I think I was going up this mountain, probably Crossfell, I think it possibly was, and just going pretty hard. Now the jacket is pretty good, but still, I suppose you'd have the moisture from sweat and all that on the inside, but. Just noticed I was with the poles, and I was doing the same action on and off. Just so not fully straightening my arms, just in that kind of stance you'd have with poles, you know, kind of half bent arms. And when I did need to straighten my arms, and I said, "What's wrong with my jacket?" I think I looked down; it was frozen. Yeah, the sleeves are frozen. It might be cold, but yeah, if you're moving on like that, yeah, like it is cold, and people think, "Oh, how do you manage cold?" But I wasn't really cold at any point because my body heat would, you know, keep me going. And if my head was cold, I'd put on a thick hat if it was pretty cold, and then you'd find after about an hour I'd have to take it off, put on a lighter one. It depends. When you go down into the valley, probably change into a lighter hat or something. And I had the mittens that kind of come up over your fingers, so you don't actually take them off. You just kind of leave the air in. I think I have pretty warm hands. You know, once they don't get too cold at the start, they tend to not freeze or anything. So
during the checkpoints, when you're getting your cup of tea and you're getting to sit down and maybe 40 winks, would you have gotten that a little bit of sleep over the thing? How hard is to get up and go again? Or were you constantly to stay awake for 44 plus hours?
No, I knew I could stay awake. I could stay awake. My record is 58 hours in a race.
Staying awake?
Yeah, that was adventure racing again. So it was 58 hours. There was some great hallucinations in that one. Penny Healy-Rae was a star.
I got to sidetrack for a second because you've said adventure racing a few times, and there's people listening thinking, "Yo, that's a Quest 70K or something along those lines."
No.
What is your definition of an adventure race?
Oh, multi-day team event. Yeah, multi-day team event. I did my first proper one of them. Oh, it's 2019-ish, I think.
And what's that involve?
That was the Beast Adventure Race. It was up in Antrim. So a team of 4 people, mixed team of 4. So that year there was 3 guys. Myself, Noel O'Leary was, excuse me, Noel O'Leary was captain. Eilish Dean was the lady, and you had Kevin Leahy as well then, and myself. And team of 4, and there's several disciplines. We started off a bit of a jog, and then we went on a swim and some cliff diving, back then to hike the Ulster Way or something. I don't know, it was absolute torture anyway. I don't want to think about that one, moving swiftly on. And then you'd probably do 70 or 80K in a mountain bike. Back on, then you'd do a bit of orienteering, a few hours orienteering in sandhills and that, and constantly changing, you know, into more overnight hikes and mountain biking, and it finished with probably 3 or 4 hour canoe or kayak actually. So that was, I was promised it was a 48-hour adventure race, which is fine. I had that in my head. We mentioned that earlier, you know, that I had that in my head. 48 hours is fine. Well, it turned into 58. I was like a fucker, I tell you. Yeah, 58 hours. No sleep. We gave, because Noel was the navigator. We left him have 10 minutes sleep there at one stage up in the Giant's Causeway, and we just got in a bit of food. So it was 58 hours, and we finished just at 6 o'clock. Now prize giving was at 7. So we had
You're all asleep by then.
We were handed a beer. We were handed a beer and a few slices of pizza. And you get that into, you know, and we'll see you there in, you know, 3/4 of an hour for prize giving. That's fucking hell. So up to the house, shower, cup of tea, back down for prize giving, which was at 7. And it turned out we actually came third in that actually as well, which was great. That was a nice surprise. Because they don't tell you till prize giving. You don't actually know where you Yeah. And of course, being from Kerry, we were last to leave the pub at 3 a.m. Yeah, 69 hours up. Yeah, that was good. So, what was the question?
I don't even know anymore.
Adventure racing.
Adventure racing. And you somehow the cliff diving and everything else. That sounds bananas. Before we get back to the spine.
That was fun.
Before we get back to the spine race, you mentioned Kevin Leahy there. You've done a vastest known time with him. I'm gonna butcher the name. Iveragh, or is it Iveragh Transverse?
Iveragh
You did,
Transverse, yeah.
yeah, it was 44 peaks, 85 kilometers, and you did it in 22 hours. Like, it is in between races. Is it just those kind of things you're thinking? What adventure can I do in between? How did that fast known time come up? And do you have any future goals for any other ones throughout the country?
No, definitely not.
That
No.
was one and done. It's a great video you have on the Instagram for it. It looked really good.
That was good. Yeah, it was a thing that there was a guy came up with it and told Conor Murphy of the Munster Trail Runners about it, and he put it up a post on Facebook saying, he's following the path of Paddy Dillon, who had mentioned all these mountains. He was kind of like an Irish Wainwright dude or something. And wouldn't it be great? You'd be some man altogether if someone did all those in one day. Oh yeah. So so I mapped it and I spent hours and hours on it, probably over about 2 years mapping it and getting the GPS coordinates and doing recce's in it. And then I'd fully going to do it myself, self-supported. And then COVID hit. And Kevin had a race in the Arctic or something. And he couldn't do it. And he said, "Oh, did you hear about the Iveragh Transverse thing? Paddy Dillon round?" I said, "Yeah, why?" "Oh, I just came across it there on Facebook. Yeah, I've all the work done on it, and yeah, the route now snapped." I was kind of "Oh yeah, we do it together." Okay, right. Yeah, so we did one more recce, and then we just waited for a bit of a weather window, which happened in, was it April or something? Yeah, we got 2-3 days of beautiful weather, and so we just went ahead and did it, and it was stunning. Like, it's a fabulous place to run. It was absolutely stunning. Just over by Sneem, and coming back over Ballochbema Pass and all that. That was absolutely stunning, and you're just following rabbit tracks and sheep tracks, and no road for, Jesus, I don't know how long. That must have been 8 hours, no road, and then you just met the guys who were bike to eat, crossing Ballochbema gaps. You just did the 10 feet across the road, back for, I don't know, another 6 or 7 hours before you meet another road, and boys had a bonfire going for us, and the cops were called. Yeah, the guards are called. And what are you doing up here? "Oh, we're just having a turn." "For who?" "Oh, Joe." "Oh, I know Joe. Yeah. Oh, carry on there. Carry on. You just got to." There was a fire going, and there was someone had set fire to the national park the week before or something. So we nearly got blamed for it. And then, like, it's pure wild, desolate country with no paths or trails, except for a small bit up in Mangerton Mountain, and it was stunning. Yeah, it was really, really good, really good. Yeah, I'd recommend anyone to do it. But the record has been smashed since. Like, it's smashed, completely smashed. Like, what is
Does
it
that
again?
give you?
No, I'm not.
No, it doesn't give you a little bit. I'll get back at them now on that one. No, you don't know words.
He smashed it by 5 hours or something. Jesus, it escapes me now the exact number, but it was a bit embarrassing. Yeah.
Well, to go back to the spine race, I'll try and segue back in that when you smashed that record. It's not a bad segue, but another one is when you did that FKT time in the Iveragh Transverse. Looking at the video, it looked like you had more people supporting you at the end than you had at the finish of the spine race, because it looked like just they were not expecting you at all. When you crossed the line, you somehow jumped before doing the finish line. I don't know how you had the energy and the legs to do that. And it just, I don't know what you were going through, but like, just when people do marathons and stuff, they've thousands of people supporting and all the rest. Here you are setting this record for one of the, as they say, one of the most enduring races, British races, or even in the world. And yet you cross the finish line, middle of the night. There's like one guy with a camera there. You get to the wall at the end. You don't even need to sit down. Like he puts the medal over your head, little conversation with you. The pub's probably not open. Like
No.
it's so in a way anticlimactic. Like if Hollywood were to do a movie on it, they'd have to rewrite that script to like middle of the daytime. Your family were there cheering you and all the rest. Like what's that feeling across the finish line? It's just is that just a life of an ultra runner that does it for days that you don't expect the big, I suppose, pomp and circumstance at the end?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even you're probably used to watching UTMB and all the Pau Capel coming in, the whole place going demented and screaming and roaring, and they go back and forth and fucking, no, that's not me, because I come in at 6 a.m. There's fucking no one there but the bin man. And so I'm kind of used to that. But I tell you another thing that you probably didn't cop about the end of the spine. So it was 4:30 a.m. And the thing, I knew there was something wrong. There was just something, it wasn't clicking in my head. And then I copped it the next night when I think Damien was coming in. It was dark as well. Or maybe it was the third place guy actually. They were clapping their wrists. They weren't clapping their hands. They were kind of clapping, they didn't want to make noise because it's 4:30 a.m. and it's a built up area. And I said, I knew there was something missing. Like, oh, Joe, yes. There was no one screaming or whistle or anything. Or it's like there was something out. There was something missing. I couldn't pinpoint at the time. I watched it back. When I was, I realized then when I watched back, and when I was, because I just wanted to clap and cheer people coming. Oh, remember now, you have to stay quiet. Oh. Really. So that was even more anticlimactic. You couldn't, there was some fabulous achievements in that race, and you couldn't you couldn't even whoop and cheer for them. So it was the same for me. Yeah, so extremely anticlimactic. But they're a great crowd actually that run it, that organize it. And they all came out. So they all get out of their beds and everything. They put on a dry robe, and they're all in their slippers. And they come out half an hour. But yeah, it was great to see them. And then you go in and give them a cup of tea, and I look around. Where's everyone gone? Oh, they're gone to bed. Jack's not in until 9 o'clock or something. So they all fecked off to bed. Only 2 people stayed up, so it was a bit lonesome for a bit.
Well, in fairness to them, the next person wasn't in for 6-7 hours later. I think the next person came in at 51 hours or something like that. I read earlier.
Yeah, but Jack was in for the full spine. He came in about 9, so he was like
did a crossover
after or something. Yeah, and then Tom Hollins was in then at 7 hours. Yeah, so 4.5 and 7. Do the maths. He was in about 11. Yeah. So I went to the pub with him then.
Now that you've gotten you got first in that, you got your 3 podiums. Are you going to go back to do the full spine are you aiming to do that again, or do you feel like that box has been ticked onto the next challenge?
No, I entered that straight away. I've that entered. I'm one of the first people on the entry list. So I want to do that.
Remind me of the full spine. How long is that distance? I know I have it wrote somewhere here in my notes, but notes are all over the shop. Because when you did that last year, or the 2023, I think it was, you did that in 96 hours and 50 minutes for 431 kilometers, and you'd seen we did that in 90 minutes sleep. The big distance spine.
Yeah.
I don't know my question to that.
Yeah.
How does it get quicker?
Quicker was so which, me and the northern one, or which?
So when you're looking at this spine, if you're going to go do it again, how do you improve? How do you take on this challenge to be quicker? I suppose, because that is the aim of the game.
Yeah, I'll probably run the same speed, but do less stupid stuff, and less time drinking tea, less time having the crack with in checkpoints. Still have the crack, like just probably you can shave off half an hour there, just being a bit handier. Navigation was a bit of an issue as well at times, so there's definitely half an hour there as well. or probably more. So like when I came home, the first thing I did was made a list. Everything went wrong, and navigation issues. What will I do different? And I have it here in front of me actually, and I just add to it during the year, because by the time I go to prepare for it again in November or something, that'll be all forgotten. So I'll read through my list, and it could be a case of ask Ian how he did this, or ask Dougie how he does that, or some new kit, or looking closely at some navigational issues I had. So that's kind of free time really, without going faster. You can get a couple of hours there, and I'll try and do it with like the last time in the full spine. I probably wasted a lot of time trying to sleep. Now I know it's good to rest and put the feet up and get the feet dry, but I was wasting a lot of time trying to sleep. So maybe I'm kind of more aware now of what sleep I do need. I know it changes every year, but I'll be more aware of that as well, and probably try and reenact or get some better sleep strategies and track like that. So I probably won't race it any faster. I'll just hope that I be as efficient as I can, and hopefully everyone else will fuck up. That's usually what I think. And you might laugh at that, but that's my race plan. That's my race plan for the last 3 years of it.
It has somehow worked for you.
Yeah, I see them go off into the sunset, and I go, right, see you later. I can't do that speed, so it's I can't really get carried away because I just can't keep up with them. It's simple as that. I can't do 100 miles in 23 and a half hours, or 108 miles in 23 and a half hours, or whatever that Kim Colston does, or even Dougie's in us at 26 hours. I just can't do that. So I'll just try and be more efficient. And that's basically what I'll do.
It's a phenomenal game plan.
I have no choice.
It's an incredible story. It's an incredible journey, and to be fair, how can you give a review of something that goes on for so long? It's
very difficult, but you probably get 5 or 6 podcasts out of it. It should be like
stages for the next time.
Yeah,
well,
day one, first time.
Line yourself up for the review of the next one. Now that we have the base layer, but it has been absolutely brilliant listening. We could, as you've said, spend another hour or two. We're coming up on the hour now, and we're very aware you've already been out running and stuff. So it's time to say thank you for today, and for giving us your time and an insight into what it's like, and how honest you are about it all. It's a lot of times we get athletes who'll talk up what we want to hear about athletes, but it's nice just to.
It's just great. Look, I run in the rain every day, and I love it. And I can do some more superlatives. But it's literally drudgery.
And that's it for myself, Joe and Eric. Take care.
It's a pleasure. Bye.